Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're stepping right into the absolutely high-stakes world of mergers and acquisitions. We're going to explore the critical safety net that separates a brilliant strategic move from a, well, catastrophic corporate disaster. It's a world where millions, or literally billions of dollars change hands, and where assumptions, they can be incredibly dangerous. We're talking, of course, about M&A due diligence. Everything we're talking about today revolves around this one fundamental question. You have to ask yourself, is this company really what it claims to be? Think of due diligence as a high-stakes detective story. You, the buyer, are the investigator, and the target company is this massive, complex case file. The objective isn't just to prove the company was good, right? It's to uncover every hidden secret before you sign on that dotted line. Okay, let's dive into this with a clear definition. What exactly is it? Simply put, M&A due diligence is the structured investigation a buyer conducts to verify the financial, legal, operational, and commercial condition of a target company before completing a transaction. Because smart acquirers, they don't buy blindly. They verify, they test every single claim, examine every contract, and dig deep into every tax filing. They are actively trying to figure out exactly what they're buying. Now, as you might guess, conducting this level of exhaustive investigation isn't cheap. A thorough due diligence process typically costs somewhere between 1% and 3% of the total deal value. So to put that into perspective, if you're looking at a $100 million acquisition, you're spending millions just on the investigation alone. And yeah, that might sound super expensive at first glance, especially when those lawyers start billing by the hour. But as the saying goes, skipping it costs far more. Trying to cut corners here just to save a few percent is the ultimate false economy. If you skip proper due diligence, you're basically volunteering to inherit hidden debts, unresolved lawsuits, and broken contracts that you absolutely never saw coming. I mean, a single undisclosed tax liability can entirely wipe out any savings you gained by skipping the review. So here's our rapid-fire roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll cover the high-stakes investigation. Second, the due diligence disciplines. Third, the step-by-step process. Fourth, spotting the red flags. And finally, number 5, strategies for deal success. Let's get right into it. Starting off with Section 1, the high-stakes investigation, protecting the investment. This is all about how due diligence acts as your ultimate corporate shield against really expensive mistakes. And this brilliantly illustrates why the exact structure of a deal acts as a fork in the road, completely changing the nature of your investigation. In a share purchase deal, the buyer inherits every single liability the company carries, whether it was disclosed or not. That requires an incredibly exhaustive liability check. However, in an asset purchase deal, the buyer actually selects specific assets and liabilities to acquire, leaving the unwanted baggage behind. Due diligence still matters immensely here, but the focus shifts, right? It shifts toward confirming clean titles to each asset and verifying the contracts can actually be transferred. Moving on to Section 2, the due diligence disciplines, the lenses of investigation. Let's take a look at the sheer scale of a proper review. A complete review covers massive ground, so no single professional can do this alone. You need financial and tax experts ensuring the numbers actually add up, while your legal and HR teams hunt for hidden lawsuits or maybe labor disputes. Meanwhile, you've got IT and operational specialists probing everything from cybersecurity firewalls to supply chain vulnerabilities. And you also need commercial experts evaluating market threats, plus IP specialists confirming ownership of crucial patents. You absolutely need a diverse team of specialists to cover all this ground. To ground this in reality, let's look at legal due diligence for a second. Imagine acquiring a manufacturing company and somehow missing an unresolved environmental violation. That single oversight could trigger massive cleanup costs, regulatory shutdowns, and hefty fines right after closing. Catching it early during the legal review gives you, the buyer, room to negotiate a lower price, demand an indemnity, or, just walk away entirely. Let's jump to Section 3, the step-by-step process, the investigation blueprint. This is the chronological blueprint of how this high-stakes investigation is actually executed in the real world. The setup phase is critical. You start with Step 1, planning and defining your scope, and Step 2, signing a non-disclosure agreement to lock down confidentiality. From there, Step 3, you send out information requests and set up a secure virtual data room. Then, the real heavy lifting begins with Step 4, document review and analysis. So the crucial point is that this fourth step forms the absolute core of the investigation. This is where the lawyers, accountants, and consultants comb through every single document to cross-check disclosures against reality.
Let's move to the execution phase and see how this builds. Step 5 brings you face-to-face with management and involves conducting site visits. Step 6 is risk assessment and reporting, basically compiling all these findings into a comprehensive report. Then, Step 7, negotiation and deal structuring. This is exactly where you use those findings to adjust prices or demand indemnities. Finally, Step 8 is a final confirmatory review right before signing, just to make sure no new issues have suddenly popped up.
So, how long does all this actually take? Well, a straightforward acquisition of a small private company might take 4 to 6 weeks. A standard, more complex review takes about 12 weeks. And those large, cross-border transactions with regulatory approvals, those can easily stretch from 3 to 6 months. The main takeaway here? Never, ever rush the process just to meet an arbitrary closing date. Rushed due diligence is exactly how you miss critical risks. It's kind of like proposing on a first date. You're for sure going to miss some massive deal breakers. Which brings us to Section 4, spotting the red flags, the minefield. You can really think of this phase as carefully walking through a literal minefield. Every investigator is trained to look for specific warning signs. Unexplained revenue spikes right before a transaction, that can signal aggressive or even fraudulent accounting. Frequent management turnover usually suggests internal chaos. Concentrated customer bases mean a huge chunk of revenue could just vanish if a single client leaves. And unresolved litigation or unpaid statutory dues, like provident funds, are major warning signs. Spotting these early gives the buyer the leverage to negotiate protections. But while some of those risks can be negotiated, we have to ask a tougher question. What are the absolute do-not-cross lines that should stop a deal immediately? Well, if a target has engaged in deliberate financial fraud, like knowingly falsifying revenue or hiding liabilities, the deal must stop. If there are active criminal investigations into the company or its leadership, the deal must stop. Unresolved sanctions violations and a pattern of undisclosed related party transactions are incredibly severe red flags. If you uncover these, honestly, no indemnity clause in the world can compensate for that fundamental breach of trust. You just have to walk away. Finally, let's turn to Section 5, strategies for deal success, best practices. What are the strategies to ensure this entire process actually creates value and trust? Buyers who want reliable results should absolutely follow these core practices. Start early, basically as soon as there's preliminary interest. Build a cross-functional team of experts right from day one. Don't just take the seller's word for it. Verify claims independently. And most importantly, treat the process as an ongoing conversation rather than just checking boxes on a one-time checklist. Ask follow-up questions when things just don't make sense. It's also really vital to look at the flip side of the table. While we usually think of buy-side diligence, where the buyer investigates the target to uncover risk, there's also sell-side due diligence. This is where the seller proactively investigates its own company to fix problems before even going to market. By identifying and fixing those issues ahead of time, sellers can dramatically speed up negotiations and often secure significantly stronger valuations. Now, what's really interesting here is the fascinating connection to the insurance world. In modern M&A, buyers often use representations and warranties insurance to protect against false promises made by the seller. But underwriters aren't foolish. They demand proof of exhaustive, high-quality due diligence before they issue a policy. A weak investigation leads to higher premiums or even outright denial of coverage. So great due diligence directly translates into better insurance pricing and superior deal protection. So we come back to where we started, leaving you with this final provocative thought. Will your next transaction be a smart, strategic move, or will it be an expensive regret built on hidden problems? The buyers who consistently succeed aren't the ones who move the fastest. They're the ones who ask the hardest questions early, verify every claim, and flat out refuse to sign until the picture makes perfect sense. Thank you for joining me on this explainer, and I hope you now see exactly why uncovering the truth before the deal is the most vital step of all.